Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AIA Contract Documents webinar on the Guide to Preparing Home Builder Agreements. This webinar will provide a brief guide to filling out the AIA A111 and A112 documents. The previous webinar from last week, titled Important Legal Considerations for Home Builders, is available for you to access separately if you'd like to know more about the content of these agreements. Everyone who's attending today is going to receive a recording of the presentation that we'll go through, as well as the slides. So keep an eye out for an email from AIA Contract Documents after the presentation. Just a quick disclaimer to get us started.
So this program and accompanying materials is provided for general AIA contract document information purposes only. The information is not provided as legal advice. The information provided cannot be used for mediation, arbitration, or litigation purposes, and transmission and/or receipt of this information does not create an attorney-client relationship. No one should act upon this information without seeking appropriate legal counsel on the particular facts and circumstances at issue.
Another quick disclaimer that the presentation is protected by copyright laws, and that just pertains to reproduction, distribution, and display, because again, you will be receiving these slides. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to our presenters for the day, who are going to take you through the presentation. So I'll pass it over to Leonard and Marika to introduce themselves and take you through the real content.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Leonard Cady of Leonard Cady Architecture and Design. We are based in New York and are focused on custom residential design. I am also the chair of the Residential Contract Documents Task Group, and we are the authors of the two documents that we will be looking at today. Our Contract Documents Group is thrilled to present two documents that are specifically geared to home builders.
Thanks. I'm Marika Snyder, and my day job is teaching at the University of Memphis, and one of the jobs is teaching professional practice. So I have taught students how to use these contracts at a number of different universities and community colleges. And then my side hustle is I have a small architecture firm in Ohio where I do residential and small commercial work in a design build environment. So we're going to be talking about the 111 and 112, and these are the brand new documents that have just been published for use with home builders. And we already have a design bid build residential and design build residential agreements that are very popular, and they form the basis for these documents. As with all of the AIA documents, we've developed these documents to delineate the roles and responsibilities of each party and to provide the kinds of contractual protections that are important to allocate risks in this kind of project, because it is different doing single-family residential than doing commercial work. And the documents contain provisions that might never come into play in projects, but they're there to protect you if you ever have a relevant situation. So you'll notice that we're going to be using primarily the A111, which is for construction only, to talk about it. And then near the end, I'll discuss some of the differences with the A112, which is for design and construction services. And so basically the way that works is the A111 contains all of the information, assuming that someone else did the design, and the 112 has the basic information that you agree on for the contract, and then you add on an exhibit, or Exhibit A, with all of the relevant pricing and timing information. Next. Okay, so if we begin the document, right, it's the basic information that you would expect. It's between the owner, and it's the name and location of the owner, like where you want to receive the mail, as opposed to the project location, unless you're already living on the site, and the home builder itself. And one of the things that you might notice here is we've actually chosen a site. The builder is on the Indiana side of the border, and the project is on the Ohio side, just to highlight some of the jurisdictional differences. The big challenge is, it seems simple enough, but the date itself. The date can be any date, but it means, so it could be the date that you prepared it, the date that it's sent, the date that you expect it to be signed, but this becomes the official date of the agreement, whatever you put in here. And then the other slightly tricky thing on this page is the legal status. It's right, the name, the legal status, and the address of the home builder. And legal status is just, are you an LLC, an Inc., whatever kind of business formation you have set up. Next.
As we begin to fill in the project-specific information, we would like to mention that the italicized prompts in the parentheses are meant to guide you through the process of infilling your particular information. The online document browser also provides added instructions to assist you with this process. So really, it's quite straightforward. You just follow each item and try to identify as many of those items as you can. So here we have the project-specific information, the name, location, and detailed description of the project, Smith Residence, 5210 Buchanan Avenue, Eaton, Ohio. And then we go on to add in other information, new construction of a 2-story house, 2,500 square feet, and as much information that as you can insert that is available to you at the time that you draft up this contract. It's important to establish the parties that will represent the owner and the contractor. In our example, Karen Smith will be the contact person and decision maker for the owner. And Paul Schwartz, the head of the home building company, will be the representative for the home builder. The owner may also choose to select and insert the names of outside contractors to complete specialized aspects of the project. For example, here, a pool company, which the owner knows was selected to provide the pool. And then the home builder may be responsible for the patio and the hardscaping around it. And so it's just important to identify immediately those responsible parties. And here's the name of the pool contractor. Here, the home builder identifies their key personnel, and this is particularly important when the owner needs to contact project manager or site super or whoever's involved in the project. And here, to the extent that the home builder knows the names of their subcontractors and suppliers, they should identify them here. This is for several reasons, the most important of which is that the owner may want to visit a supplier to see tiles or other materials that they still have to select that are identified in the allowances. And they may also require partial lien waivers, and this will identify who needs to provide partial lien waivers, which subcontractors need to provide those waivers.
All right, so the contract documents, the definition of that is in here, section 1.6. And so this actually specifies all of the different pieces of paper which make up the contract. So it's this agreement, this contract here, and then the drawings and specifications that are listed below. And so we've just started this out with a couple of examples. It would be sheet A101, the site plan with the date. It's very important that you put the date because there may be numerous revisions or iterations, especially if the homeowner is working with a designer or an architect. And similarly, if the specifications are separate, you want to list those. In this example, we're imagining that they would be contained on the actual drawings themselves. And then the contract documents also include any written orders for changes in the work, change orders, that would be issued after the execution of this agreement. And then if there are any other documents that you want to be part of the contract that both parties are contractually obligated to follow, you need to list those right here in point 4. When we move into section or article 2, we talk about the statutory and other requirements. And so this is why we use that example of having the builder on one side of the border and the project on the other. Some states or jurisdictions have specific consumer protection notice requirements that you must give to anyone when you're doing a house, or there may be other warranty requirements. but specifically lien requirements are something that home builders are going to know about. And you need to follow the lien requirements in the jurisdiction where the project is. And so that list those right there, because some areas actually say that you have to have certain verbiage in the contract itself. Next. Then there might also be the specific case where you have a historic district overlay or a wetlands overlay or any other kind of jurisdictional requirement that's local. We need to enumerate that right in this part of the contract. And then the last section allows you to put something like a home builders association or other things. And so this is a very clear way to delineate what the rules of the game are. So we've got all of that information. Now, the AIA actually does not have a lien waiver form. We don't publish one of those because it's so different and it's so specific from one jurisdiction to the next. But you should know these are clues to help you think about what all of the requirements are in your area.
Article 3 talks about the contract time, and here we infill the two critical dates, the commencement of the construction, and here we've written in September 1st, 2021, and then a milestone date that is very important and we call substantial completion. Substantial completion is defined as the time when the project is occupiable and functional for a homeowner. So this would be the stage of the project where the homeowner can move in and completely use the home, all the appliances, all the functional aspects, the plumbing is working, electricity, and so on. And at that point, you would just go through punch list details, small items that may need repair. But the substantial completion date is a very important date because a good portion of your payment compensation comes at this point. The contract time and the cost of the project are the two most important things to the owner. So this substantial completion date will be a very meaningful and important item to infill and to have control over. So here we infill the price of the project. In this case, the project is a fixed price. It's identified as a stipulated sum. We've written in the sum of $875,000. The next article, 4.1.2, identifies allowances. So we may know what the cost of the project is, except for a few items that haven't been selected, for example, appliances, kitchen tops, tiles. And those allowances, as you know, are a budgetary guideline, and the owner will select the items or at least authorize pre-selected items. And at that time, if there's a slight difference, change orders can be quickly drafted up to identify the difference in cost. And you can charge the owner, for example, if the appliances are $22,000, then you'll send the owner a bill for the difference. The next item is where we identify assumptions and exclusions, and this is important for the contractor or home builder because it's a place where you may have to exclude various things. In this example, the owner will provide certain things related to the pool, the driveway is provided by owner, and so on. And the pool deck is identified as included in this contract. So it's a good place to clarify anything that hasn't been previously clarified in the plans that are attached to the contract and in other parts of the contract. So here we identify the way to proportionally divide up the payments to you, the home builder, so that you would apply, you'd have a schedule that you use to apply for payments. In this example, we recommend milestone moments. So for example, after you've completed site grading and utilities, you would be eligible for $35,000. The next milestone shown here is a foundation, $53,750, and so on. And this should all add up to the 100% total price that we stipulated on the earlier page. In 4.2, we identify various documentation that would be required for payment, such as lien waivers from subcontractors and suppliers. The next article is related to how quickly you expect to be paid. So in this example, we infilled 7 days. You present the owner with an application for payment or a bill, and according to this example, you would be paid 7 days later.
All right, the next section we have is insurance. And in this section, I've just highlighted the different amounts because it's going to vary dramatically from business to business, from the type of work you do and the different area, the amount that's covered, and the amount that's required. So you would put in the amount for your general liability, as well as like your automotive, workman's comp. And if there was any other kind of insurance that was specifically required for this project or that the homeowner is asking for, that is listed here. So one of the things that I see most often that there's confusion about is who's paying for the builder's risk insurance. And so you have that clearly listed right here. Next slide. Now, dispute resolution is something that we all hope that we never will have, but it's here just in case problems arise. So there are 3 options. One can select arbitration, litigation, or other, and then specify what that is. If the homeowner and the home builder don't select one of these, then it will automatically go to litigation. Next slide.
Article 7.1.6 identifies the means of communication between the homeowner and the home builder. This in particular is called electronic notice, and it's mainly here to identify that both parties agree to using things like email or other electronic transmission as a means for notification. You could send your bill payments, your invoices this way. If you have a problem, a dispute, as Marika mentioned, you could use electronic notice as the means for conveying this information. Traditionally, all these things used to be delivered by mail and certified mail and so on. And so to the extent that the laws in your jurisdiction allow for this, it's useful to list it and identify how you would like to communicate with the other party.
So this slide, while it says compensation, this Article 15 actually is talking about termination. So when the dispute did not go well, or something else comes up and there has to be a severing of the relationship. And it's best to make these kind of discussions and agreements ahead of time so that you can resolve them with a clear head. And this agreement allows the contractor to include a termination fee if the homeowner terminates for convenience. And so this is a way to help the home builder to recover indirect costs that they would lose in association with the termination of this project. Okay, so that is a brief, super brief summary of the A111. The main differences, as I mentioned previously, between the A111 and the A112 is that in the A112, the home builder is also providing design services. And so because of the nature of design, you can't know the final cost and scope of the work until the design is done. So the A112 is broken up into the two pieces. The agreement itself, which has all the same terms that you see in A111, and Exhibit A, which contains specific information about the cost, the scope, and the timing. It's the same format, but some of the numbering is different. So Article 2 of A112 contains fill points so that the home builder can be compensated for work that's done before construction begins, and that's usually the design work. The beginning of Exhibit A looks really similar to 111. Again, you have the date, which becomes the date of the contract listed here, and the project name and location with all of the same information. And so with all of these things, and we see the contract sum and payments, you can either write it in the space or see attached if you have a format you want to attach to the back of the contract. So also because of the nature of design, there might be reimbursable expenses that come with the A112. And so there's a space that you can add them. These might be things like printing drawings. So any of the expenses which are specifically reimbursable and not general contractor overhead would be listed in this section right here. And then at the end, or almost the ends of the document, in the A111, it's at section 18, and it says this agreement is comprised of the following documents listed. So it could be simply the A111 and nothing else. The A112, you do need to specify that it's both the A112 and Exhibit A form the contract. And other contract or other documents you might have is if you were had a historic preservation scope of services, or you had maybe a sustainability objective, you might have additional documents to go with that, and you would list that here. Most likely there would not be other documents, but if you do have other things that are attached, they would be located right here.
And we've come to the end of the contract, and this is the signature page, and you will want to get an original signature from the homeowner, and the owner will want to get an original signature from the home builder, and you'll prepare 2 copies, one for each party. And if you're in person together, well, then you'll be able to leave with your respective copies. If you're not, then you'll have to send both copies to the other party for endorsement. And this is an important section. And as soon as it's signed, we recommend scanning the document to have a copy of it so that, you know, during the course of the work, you'll be able to refer to the document as a digital copy, you know, electronically. So that brings us to the end of the infill. We'd like to just tell you briefly that the AIA contract documents have been in existence since 1888. That's 133 years. And they've evolved, and they reflect the practices in the construction industry. They go through a regular review cycle or publishing cycle. And originally they were always paper documents, and then they evolved into digital documents as well as paper copy documents. Documents have evolved to recognize and identify case law and many of the changes in the industry over time, particularly changes in the digital world. And now we have nearly 200 agreements and forms, and these documents are very well recognized in the industry. And when people say AIA documents, everyone knows that this is the standard form of agreement. And it's almost a short form where the basic agreements, for instance, the owner contractor agreements or owner design builder agreements, they're all so standardized that everyone knows the same language and can work from it very comfortably. So these documents are available in three formats. There's a basic single document that is not editable and you can fill in. There's a customizable single document. And then finally, there's an unlimited annual subscription where you can sit at your desktop and use the documents browser to access all the templates, all the various forms, up to 200 different kinds of forms. And if your projects are many, then this is the way to go. This is the easiest format.
And just mention that there is a lot of other resources to help if you have questions. There's many of the videos on the YouTube channel, and then you can email the docinfo people or the tech support, and I use them myself and I find them very helpful. And so, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you will find these documents very useful and helpful, and we encourage you to contact the AIA for technical support if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good day.